A Monday practice at the Quest Diagnostics Training Center in East Rutherford, New Jersey, as we welcome you to the Giants Training Camp Report presented by Citizens. Bob Papa along with Super Bowl champion Shaun O'Hara and the Giants in some pads, getting some good work in. They learned a lot off that preseason game against the Patriots, but the offensive line is a little dinged up. Will that affect practice at all, in your opinion?
Yeah, no doubt about it. It looks like they're down some guys. Only about 10 offensive linemen today in practice. And in a full padded practice day, there's a lot of work to be done. So they're going to have to kind of tailor some of the reps because you no longer have a third string. With just 10 linemen, Bob, you've basically got two deep, which means nobody can go down to practice and nobody's getting any breaks between the two groups. So they'll probably trim a little bit of the plays today. But the emphasis today in practice, Bob, is short yardage. So that's obviously a big component of why you got to be in full pads to practice that. For Giants fans, 3rd and 1 has been a struggle the last couple of years. So this is absolutely a point of emphasis for them and something they need to get better at.
All right, so I want to ask you about short yardage and kind of belly back to the preseason game against the Patriots in Foxborough. Giants, I got it. It's a preseason game, and I got that the Patriots didn't play all their regulars. But there was a crispness to this Giant run game and a balance to this run game. Haven't seen in quite some time as the defense works on hand placement. There's Leonard Williams. Giants defense is wearing white this week because they have the home preseason game on Sunday against the Bengals, in which they'll wear their blue. But let's talk about that run game and short yardage.
Yeah, it's good to see Leonard back out on the field there doing some reps as we see the quarterbacks working on run fits. There's Sandro Plotzcomer taking a hand off there. So the short yardage aspect of it in this run game, look, Bob, I think what I saw Thursday night was a surge. I saw movement up front. I saw running backs getting downhill right now. There was nobody dancing. There was nobody, trying to do any juke moves. It was downhill surge with the guys up front and power running. And we saw that translate into some broken tackles, some broken arm tackles. So I thought it was a very good first showing for Brian Dable, for Mike Kafka, for this offensive line, for the run game. I tell you what, the running backs ran hard. They ran with authority. And I think you can see how the coaching and the points of emphasis translated into that game. I'll say this, it's funny, this whole offseason, we're talking about this offense and the passing aspect of it and the personnel packages. The Giants started off the game Thursday night with 2 tight ends. It was Daniel Bellinger and Chris Myerek in a tight end, and it was a 2 tight end formation for a lot of their running plays. So that's going to be an integral part in short yardage. Tight ends have to do a good job. I was very impressed with Daniel Bellinger and his ability to block on the moves. As we take a look at Saquon Barkley as a receiver out there, a little jab, stiff arm right there. We saw him catch a nice conversion. I think it was 3rd down on the sidelines from Daniel Jones. But that aspect of it is, number one, when you're decisive and you're vertical and you're not running horizontally, you're running vertically, you can get those extra yards as you struggle through and fight through. But that's what this preseason is all about, right, Bob? So for these running backs, it's not just falling forward, getting those yards, but this is the first time they got tackled on Thursday night. They're not doing live drills in practice. So as you're struggling for those yards and you're reaching forward, can you maintain ball security? As you're fighting for that extra yard, you don't want that ball to come out and get loose and get punched out.
Let's also talk about the tenor of practice. The Giants have had fans participating and being here for the practices. Now things closed off. You got a cut coming up. You got a second preseason game as Daniel Bellinger with a little route there makes the catch. You've also only got 3 preseason games. The pressure has to be mounting for some of these guys.
Well, yeah, you could see it. I mean, and you look around the league right now, there's transactions every day. Teams are releasing players, guys that just played in a game, and then literally 24 hours later, they're being told that that's it. It's the end of the road. So when you start to see that, when you start to see new faces show up in the locker room and they're out to practice that day, you kind of see the business side of it. It definitely adds a little bit of pressure and just kind of gives you a little boost. I will say this. These are the hump days in training camp. After you've played a first preseason game, then you come back to the grind here as we watch the defensive line continue to work on some of these hand movements. There's Kayvon Thibodeau right there, Quincy Roche, and of course Azeez Ojulari, who was just activated off the PUP list. Good to see him back out there getting some work in. I think for these guys, look, there's no fans out here. They kind of bring a little juice when you come out and you hear the roar and you know that they're going to react if you make a big play. They're also watching if you make a bad play. So there's that aspect of it. You almost kind of have to false enthusiasm yourself and jazz yourself up a little bit.
What are they doing here? Obviously, you got defensive lineman against defensive lineman, but in that case, so Shane Zimenez is playing offensive lineman. Same thing with Thibodeau here.
Right, Kayvon Thibodeau right there, pretending to be a tackle as the defensive end. What they're working on is hand placement initially, and it's basically they're trying to get both their hands up underneath the pads of the offensive tackle or tight end or guard, and control the wrists is a big part of it. So you'll see them grab the wrist of the lineman, and once they push those hands up, then it's a rip move to get by and to clear the hip. For defensive linemen, their number one goal is to get past your hips. If you could clear the hip of the offensive lineman, that's how they run that circle and they can get that sack. If you don't clear the hip, then the offensive lineman can ride you by the quarterback and run you past.
Daniel Jones of the Giants offensively hoping to have a better practice on this Monday. You know, it was a rough go on Sunday, but, you know, in this era of everything being hyper scrutinized, do you put much stock in it? I mean, some days the defense is going to win. You don't know what the plan is either. You know, I've been coming to Giants training camp since 1988. I've seen my full share of bad practices on either side of the ball. It's kind of the ebb and flow of training camp, isn't it?
Yeah, I think the tough thing in preseason is don't define anybody, you know, based on one game, one performance. You know, I know everybody looks at the macro aspect of the game. Did you win? Did you lose? You know, what were the stats like? Did you have any wild plays? But preseason is all about the individual matchups. So it's, you know, hey, how did you handle one-on-ones? How did you hold up in pass protection? How did you do in run blocking? Let's take a look at the fundamental aspect of it. If there's mistakes, are they correctable mistakes? Are they mental things? Are they, you know, penalties, things that can be corrected? Or is it this guy's getting beat and we just don't know if he can hold up in pass protection? So that's running backs, that's offensive linemen, tight ends. For quarterbacks, of course, everything's magnified. And for Daniel Jones, every single mistake that he makes right now, fans and people are going to say, oh, there it is. You know what? We can't have that. But the problem is that they don't see the good. And without being able to go back and look at the film, you know, the very first third down that they had, Daniel Jones tucked the ball and ran for a first down. And people say, well, yeah, you know what? Okay, Daniel Jones can run. No, that was a great decision, and it was decisive. Maybe a year ago, Daniel Jones stands back there and tries to find a way to an area to throw that football and creates a turnover, or maybe he holds on to the ball too long and it's a sack. I thought on that very first third down, while it wasn't sexy and it wasn't a wow moment, it was a great decisive moment for Daniel Jones to see, hey, you know what? I don't like the fact that number one's not open. I don't like the fact that there's nowhere to go with the football. I'm going to take off and run and get the first down.
See, Kayvon Thibodeau going against Andrew Thomas in that rep, and even in practice, the first snap, Andrew Thomas went a little early. Thibodeau does bring that level of intimidation.
Yeah, no doubt. He brings that speed factor, and that's what tackles always fear. You always fear the speed rusher. You could anchor on a power rusher, but that speed guy, if he's already got a step on you, you feel like you're playing catch up. So looks like we're seeing Ben Bredesen in here at center right now. I tell you what, I really like the way that he's playing at center. He seems very physical. As you see right there, that's a bull rush by Dexter Lawrence, which, all right, good job. You push the center back. You know, this whole thing is about working your hands and making some moves. So let's see some moves, Big Dex. That's me sticking up for my O-line right there. Mark Lewinsky, the right guard, the Giants signed a free agency right now. Trying to see
we saw the first rep at left guard went to Max Garcia. McGinn is now in, but I think it's Gwilinski's turn. Yep. And I'd call that a win, right, for the offensive lineman?
And there you see the finish right there. How about Gwilinski with the rip move right there? As soon as they blow the whistle, one of the things Bobby Johnson has this offensive line doing is bursting 5 yards down the field after the pass rep. So a nice rep right there at left guard by Devery Hamilton. Devery played left tackle against the Patriots on Thursday night. I thought he did a heck of a job sliding out there. So he's showing some versatility, being able to kick in there at guard. There's Garrett McGinn in there at center. And Garrett McGinn, he played right tackle. So we're seeing a lot of versatility here. This is Eric Smith, who they just signed about a week ago, Bob. So he's really a tackle. Now he's in there at guard. So I mentioned there's only 10 offensive linemen. So you're seeing guys playing out of position, which is a great opportunity. This is Will Holden coming up. I think they signed him 5 days ago. So these guys are all still introducing themselves to each other in the huddle. There's Shane Zimenez with a nice little outside chop move. Just so for the people watching at home, one-on-one drills. All right, this is the most disadvantageous drill an offensive lineman can do. They have no responsibility but to get to the quarterback. They're not worried about run, nothing. So this is tough. If you could block right, look at Andrew Thomas sitting down right there. Nice job anchoring on Azeez Ojulari right there. I tell you, he's done a great job with his hands, Bob, and with his feet. You could see on that set, he was had perfect alignment, perfect hat placement, got his hands inside and sat that bull rush down by Ojulari.
I think it's Max Garcia's turn now at the left guard spot. He's a veteran player who's got a lot of reps and a lot of starts under his belt in the NFL.
Yeah, Max started a lot of games for the Arizona Cardinals, and you know what? He's been in there as center. He's been a right guard, a left guard, so he's showing some versatility. Here's Bretterson again at center. See him replace those hands, and then you see that drop back, how he kind of hopped back with the anchor. That was how you stopped the bull rush right there. Good rep by Bretterson.
Mark Walensky's turn. Obviously, this is a guy that was a full-time starter with the Indianapolis Colts and a key signing by the Giants, and I would say that would be a win for Walensky.
Yeah, that's a win right there. You could see, again, his hands went inside immediately. He took control of the defensive tackle right there with his inside hands. All right, Evan Neal, keep your face out of the block right now. That's the biggest thing. Sit back, keep your face out. There's a good punch. All right, that's a good finish. That's some good rookie right there. That's number 5 versus number 7 right there.
I would call that a draw. I thought Neal did a nice job. I thought Thibodeau fought through it, and fortunately for Neal, his quarterback Daniel Jones has athletic ability. Would have danced away from that.
Yeah, I like that. I'll take the draw right there. I think when you look at that play, both players have things to work on. For Kayvon Thibodeau, he wants to create more separation. Don't let the engagement happen. And for Evan Neal, it was a great first punch, great contact initially. Now he's got to work on keeping that outside foot sliding. When he punches and gets engaged, sometimes he stops that outside foot, and then that's when he gets in trouble, starts to cross over.
Devery Hamilton got his man on the ground, so that's pretty good.
Bob, in this drill, if you're an offensive lineman, if you can win 50% of these, then...
Let me ask you something. If you're an offensive center, you got to snap the ball first. Just talk about that discipline, because you did it at a Pro Bowl, Super Bowl championship level. It's one thing to have these guys coming at you. It's another thing to have to snap the ball first.
Yeah, I mean, look, that's why the best players play center. Bob, you know, look, you gotta tell everybody what to do, and you gotta snap the ball. It definitely makes things a little more challenging. I think the key with that is you've got to be quick, because you've got to snap the ball and get that hand back inside. You know, the key as a center is your left hand has got to be violent. You got to be violent with that left hand initially and make contact. But you know, it's also, you know, there's little tricks that you can kind of use. You can kind of jump the snap a little bit. You can kind of tell them to go on a hard count and squeeze the ball a little bit and try to get them to jump. There's a couple of tricks of the trades that the vets have learned how to do. But like I said, if you can win half your battles in one-on-ones in practice, in that kind of drill, you're going to be all right on Sundays.
Yeah, so the Giants down a couple offensive linemen on this Monday practice. So I think, you know, you can look at it, and fans can look at it and say, oh, what was me? But on the flip side, guys are getting more reps, valuable reps, and this coaching staff is getting an opportunity to evaluate players on their versatility. Are you one-dimensional? Can you do other things? And again, like we talked about, players are getting cut around the league now. Teams have to get down to 85 later this week. So there's an opportunity. You're not just competing against the guys on your group.
Right.
You're competing against everybody in the NFL.
Right, yeah, and it might be the team that you just played against. You know, they may see them on film and say, hey, that guy could add to our group. You know, certainly, you know, it stinks for guys like Marcus McKeithen, who went down in the blue-white scrimmage. He was going to be a factor in some of this O-line depth. Josh Azudu, who has done a nice job. You know, I fully expect him to be the sixth man when the season starts. He's done a great job at guard and tackle. So for a lot of those guys that are practicing, yeah, it's a miss. But these young guys, those opportunities, like you mentioned, Bob, those are huge. When you come into training camp, if you're third on the depth chart, maybe you get 5 reps of practice. Now you're going to get 5 reps in each period. So you've got to maximize your opportunity. And to your point, you're competing against all these other offensive linemen around the league.
1v1, as my kids like to call it, starting defense versus the starting offense. And Max Garcia gets the first turn at left guard with this starting offense, and a heavy emphasis on running the football in this practice today.
Yeah, this is team run right here. So it's, you know, look, they're not worried about the pass. Again, practice is designed to put you in some of the toughest situations. We just saw the one-on-one drills. That's a tough situation for offensive linemen. This is basically team inside run. The defense knows that you're not passing the ball, so everybody's coming downhill. They're reading it. They know it's run. There's no there's no misdirection here or no questions about what's happening. So if you can win in this drill as an offense, then you're gonna have a good day on Sunday.
Darian Beavers, number 41, one of the rookies, lining up in the middle with the first unit as Wan'dale Robinson makes the catch for the Giants.
Well, and just like I was saying, it's all runs. Mike Kafka keeps you on your toes and calls a play-action pass. So they're trying to keep the defense honest. I think the two areas that definitely jumped out in the preseason game were not just how the Giants ran the football, but how well they did against the run. The Patriots have always been a good running football team. And on Thursday night, I thought the defense was very stout, and they did a good job of tackling.
I was very impressed with Antonio Williams, who's in right now at running back. And he's a guy that really ran hard the other night. All the backs did. Remember, Matt Breida didn't play. So everybody got a turn, and I think everybody comported themselves. We talked about guys that could be on other teams that wind up on the Giants at some point. These guys keep performing the way they're performing. If they don't make it here, they're going to make it somewhere else.
Yeah, I thought it was a good first step, and certainly for Antonio Williams, he looked good. And even on that run, there was an unblocked linebacker, and he just burst right through the arm tackle. I think for a lot of these running backs, the one key is, okay, you've shown that you can run with the football. You've shown that you can run with power. Now the next step is, all right, can you protect? I saw a play where where Brightwell needs to work on, kind of standing up there, and against a linebacker blitz, he kind of got pushed back into Daniel Jones' lap. So as a running back, it's not just about when you have the ball, it's when you don't have the football, your responsibilities, what are they? Do you know what your assignments are? Do you know who the blitzers are? Do you know you have protection? And can you hold up on third down if you've got to dig a linebacker out?
Daniel Jones lets it rip. And how about Colin Johnson? The one knock on him the other night was the fumble that he had in plus territory. But other than that, outstanding. Ran some really nice routes, competed for the football, and continues to have a very good camp.
Yeah, I tell you, I thought Colin did a great job, not just in catching the football and running after the catch Thursday night, but he did a great job blocking on run plays. And then I saw him on the kickoff team. He was one of the first guys down there. He's adding feathers to his cap left and right. You mentioned the fumble, and here's what I'll say about that. You watched the replay on that. You saw it. It wasn't for lack of ball security. He had the ball high and tight up against his chest. That was a heck of a play by Mitchell. For the Patriots to come in there and punch that ball out, and it was a direct hit. So, it wasn't that he was being lazy with the football. It was just sometimes they make good plays too.
Tyrod Taylor in at quarterback for the Giants. Last carry went to Jashawn Corbin, and he gets another one right there. Taken down to the turf by Yusef Corker, a rookie free agent out of Kentucky.
Yeah, and Corker, he had a couple of big hits in that game Thursday night as well. It looks like Micah McFadden is in there playing Mike linebacker as well. I tell you,
the Giants subbed out the entire offensive line.
Yeah, this is 2 versus 2 right now. As I mentioned, that's Garrett McKinn at center. No Jameel Douglas.
Tip ball intercepted. Andrew Adams gets the pick off the tip and takes it in for 6.
Yeah, Davis Webb in at quarterback right there, and that's the tip drill that defensive backs work on, right? Get your hand on the ball, knock it up in the air, and good things happen. Good job for Andrew Adams. He's looked pretty good in camp here in his second tour with the Giants, Bob.
What do they say? Every interception has its own story.
That's right.
Cam Brown in at linebacker, number 47.
Yeah, a little glimpse in there of the RPO offense that Brian Dable has brought from Buffalo, and
that was Alex Bachman.
As a quarterback, you're reading the defense, and if it's a light box, 6-man box, you hand the football off to running back. If that safety is creeping down in a run-stopping defense, you throw the quick pass route to Bachman like he just did right there. So it's kind of a little game of cat and mouse, if you will, at the line of scrimmage. Talk
a little about, because you heard over the loudspeakers, the horn blew, the switch periods, install. This is obviously a very sensitive scenario for all 32 teams in the National Football League. They're trying to get pieces of their game plan, offensively or defensively, into place, get guys practice reps on it. Can you just talk a little bit about the intensity of this portion of practice?
Yeah, you dial it down, no doubt, because it's more mental. You want guys to not just know what they're doing, but you're trying to teach them why they're doing it. And I think that's where that next level progression from being a young player to being a savvy veteran, that's where that growth is, when you understand the why. Football, the games are won and lost in the game situations. So it's not just, hey, here's our playbook, and I memorize it. And when we call the play, you have to know what you're doing. We really break it down. So it's, here's first and second down run plays. Here are third down run plays. Okay, here are our play action pass protections. Let's work on those. Here are our third down pass protections. Here's our 4-minute offense. Here's our short yardage, red zone, goal line area. So you literally break everything down and compartmentalize it, and that's part of what they're doing here in install.
Yeah, that's obviously the stuff that we can't show you for obvious reasons, and no team wants that out there because that is the meat and potatoes of what a team wants to do.
And we know all the Cowboys, Eagles, and Commander fans are watching right now. We don't want to give you any information.
Hey, your thoughts on this week and coming up with this preseason game on Sunday at MetLife Stadium?
Yeah, well, listen, this is a great test, a great opportunity. Cincinnati Bengals were in the Super Bowl this past year. So I think, when you look at that aspect of it, this is going to be a great opportunity for this Giants defense and for the corners. I think when you look around the preseason, the one thing that was evident was that there were a lot of teams playing man covers. Everybody wants to know who could play press coverage, who could play man. So this is going to be a great challenge for the Giants defense against the Bengals. Jamar Chase, if he plays, that's a great test. The defensive rookie of the year. T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, they've got a three-headed monster there at running back. And then Joe Mixon, if he plays in this game, Joe Mixon runs with a lot of power. I doubt we'll see Joe Burrow. He's coming off of that appendectomy. But no doubt they've improved their offensive line, so it'll be a good test for the defense. And then offensively, look, they've got some good pass rushers, right? Trey Hendrickson has done a good job. B.J. Hill, someone the Giants know very well, their fifth-round pick from a few years ago. And then, of course, Eli Apple will be out there, so there will be some familiar faces. Lou Anarumo, the defensive coordinator for the Bengals, obviously was here with the Giants, and his son's actually working here for the Giants. So there's got a lot of crossover there, but make no mistake about it, this is a great opportunity for the Giants and for Brian Dable, who knows this Bengals staff very well, to show what they can do.
He's a Super Bowl winning center for the New York Football Giants. You can see him on all the Giants' social media platforms, part of the broadcast team, and also the anchor for the Eli Manning Show. So for Shaun O'Hara and our entire crew, I'm Bob Papa.
Dragging it down.
Thanks for joining us for this edition of the Training Camp Report, presented by Citizens.